I realized, wow, you can actually get leaner and hotter if you lift weights. It doesn't mean you're gonna like bulk up and be this bodybuilder if you lift weights. And that really changed my whole physique when I started lifting weights. And now I'm 52 and I'm in the best shape of my life because I have incorporated weight. So that's why another reason I love the title of your podcast, Wits and Weights, because weight training really changed my life.
Wits and Weights community, welcome to another episode of the Wits and Weights podcast. Today, I'm joined by Rebecca Whitman, an international best-selling author, top-ranked podcast host, a positive force in the world of personal development and empowerment. Rebecca will share her philosophy of the 7 pillars of abundance, challenging us to rethink how we balance our lives, with a bit of emphasis today on the physical abundance pillar. From her unique approach to her personal morning routine, you'll learn how to embrace abundance, build resilience, be more consistent, and reshape your self identity to harness your full potential. A graduate of Princeton University with honors, Rebecca was awarded Life Coach of the Year and Empowered Woman of the Year by the International Association of Top Professionals and one of the top 7 entrepreneurs to watch in 2023 by LA Weekly Magazine. She's also the host of the Top 1% podcast, The Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant Show, which won the Positive Change Award. Known as the Magnetic Abundance Mentor, Rebecca's approach is designed to help people find a harmonious balance among the 7 pillars of abundance, unlocking more joy and freedom in their lives. Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Philip. It's great to be here. I love the title of your podcast, Wits and Weights.
Yeah, a little bit of alliteration. It came to me while we were at my daughter's soccer game, and I was just like brainstorming in my head, and somehow, somehow it came to me. So appreciate it. So thank you for coming on, and we're talking about abundance today and what that means in general, but also in the context of health and fitness. So what I'm curious about is, for contrast, is there a time in your life where you clearly didn't have abundance, right? Maybe scarcity, whatever we want to call it. How did that experience, how did it feel, and how did it lead you to where you are today?
Well, I was raised in a very competitive house. And by the time I was 8, I was playing national tennis tournaments. So I was taught that I had to win. My dad literally had a sign in his office that says, wasn't it winning isn't everything, it's the only thing.
Oh.
So that is a scarcity mentality, and that is very like hyper vigilant, competitive, fight, flight. And I did get results with that. I mean, I graduated from Princeton with honors and had some sales records in my early career and direct sales, but I was absolutely miserable
Hmm.
and not happy. I was overweight. I was having toxic relationships. It was just not a good way to live. And then I hit a bottom in 2003 and I started studying the law of attraction with Michael Beckwith, Abraham Hicks, Wayne Dyer. And I started understanding that I can have a scarcity mentality or I can have an abundance mentality. And then I combine that with my study of there's 7 different areas of life. And then I realized I have a choice to make in all these 7 areas. I can either look at my fitness, my romance, my emotional life, my financial life, and an attitude of scarcity or abundance. And that is what I call myself now, the magnetic abundance mentor, because I believe that you can raise your vibration in life and magnetize abundance in all 7 areas of life.
Yeah, I love that. So the zero sum competitive game is kind of that rat race a lot of us live in on a daily basis, especially people who are high achievers, right? People who are looking to constantly grow, whether it's personally, professionally, and it's this competitive thing. And I think we put that on a pedestal sometimes, right, as a positive value and a virtue. Whereas what you're suggesting is it's not sustainable, right? It sounded like it burned you out, you were unhappy, and it led to all these other things. So thank you for segueing now into the pillars, because I want to establish that framework for folks. I always love frameworks and thinking of life as, okay, I'm very I got the engineering mind. I can imagine these 7 buckets maybe overlapping as circles or something like that. You mentioned the 7, or most of them: spiritual, physical, emotional, romantic, mental, social, and financial. So elaborate on that framework, and then we can dive into a few of those.
Sure. So the framework is an order of importance and
Okay.
how I set up my day and my week and my life. So the first one is spiritual. I am a huge believer in having a morning practice, and that is where I drink my water, take my supplements. We'll talk about my philosophy and fitness, but it's really where I start to tap into my relationship with my higher power. And I have an amazing tool that I'm going to share with your listeners. It's an abundance journal. And there's a story behind that tool. I'll get into that too in a minute. But writing in that abundance journal, prayer, meditation, they're non-negotiables for me. The second pillar is fitness, and I don't work out every single day, but I do work out probably 6 days a week, and it is a combination of tennis, yoga, weight training, and walking. And I really do like having my competitive edge on the tennis court. So I'm not saying
Mhm.
there's no room for
Right.
competition because it is
Right.
fun to compete. It's fun to win. But I don't want to think of everything in my life as a
Mm.
competition. That is exhausting. The third pillar is emotion. And I do believe that all emotions come from fear or love. If you look at emotions that come from love, and this isn't me, this is A Course in Miracles teaches this. It's appreciation, happiness, contentment, satisfaction, joy comes from love. And then resentment, fear, anger, jealousy, bitterness, it all comes from fear. So you could
Mm.
also call it scarcity or abundance. So all emotions are either in scarcity, there's not enough good to go around, or there's an abundance of good to go around. Whatever that is, energy, time, money, love. The next pillar of abundance is romance, and romance affects all the areas, just like all of them affect all the areas. So if you're with a partner that doesn't support your health and fitness goals, for example, if they want you to order pizza every night and have donuts every morning for breakfast, it's going to be really hard to achieve your health and fitness goals. Same is true with financial. If you want to be an entrepreneur and swing for the fences and go for wealth and legacy, and they just want you to have a 9 to 5 job and, watch TV all weekend, it's probably not a good fit. The next pillar after romance is mental. And that is what we're doing right here on this wonderful podcast, Wits and Weights with Philip Pape. And we're working on our mindset. And there's many podcasts, audibles. It could be learning a new skill, learning a new language, learning a sport, chess, poker, anything to work on your mindset. The next one is social. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and community creates immunity. Having a community of like minded people is so important when you have a goal. So, if your goal is to be healthy and fit, having a community, whether it's a gym, a Facebook group, a class of other people that have the same goal, is critical. And the same is true with money. Having people in a community that want you to succeed financially and that are on the same path as you, that is so crucial. It's the average of the 5 people you hang out with, those
Mhm.
are the results you have. The final pillar is financial, and that is making enough money to have freedom. I don't believe in just sitting on a pile of money and doing nothing with it. I believe that life is meant to be lived, and money gives you freedom to do what you want, when you want, where you want, and with who you want. And if you don't have enough money, you don't have any freedom. You're like that hamster on a treadmill, constantly just chasing that dollar bill, and you can't think of anything else. So it's important to find a way to get paid what you're worth and not trade dollars for hours. Because if you're trading dollars for hours, you have limited amount of hours in a week, weeks in a year, months in a year, and you will be limiting your income.
Great. That's super concise. Thank you. And it is interesting how they do tie together. Like when you talk about emotion and mental, I've always loved that separation, because I think sometimes we tie them all together, but there's really a distinct difference there. And the community part is huge. I mean, it really is huge when it comes to relatedness and having the support to get there. So with all of these 7 things to focus on, I'm sure you get the question all the time about balance and what to go after when. You mentioned on another podcast that I don't know if it was you or clients or whoever or women always tend to put love and money at the top, right, of the list. I think you'd mentioned. So you talked about this being in order of priority. So you're saying spirituals is the most important, or is this just for you during a given day? Like, there's a
It's
reason you rank them
for
this way.
me and
Yeah,
my teachings, it's
yeah,
just in my opinion,
yeah,
but these are the building blocks to build a balanced, beautiful, and abundant life.
yeah,
They're in order of importance because emotions are over romance and finance, because if you're miserable, sad, suicidal, what kind of a partner are you gonna be? Or we've seen, many rock stars and movie stars and billionaires OD or commit suicide. So they had their finances together, but they were not emotionally well.
yeah.
So having your emotions in abundance and love and happiness, that's more important. If you notice, I have fitness over emotions
Yes.
because if you have your health, you have everything, and if you
Right.
don't have your health, you don't have anything. You could make $1,000,000 a minute, and if you're in a hospital with an IV up your nose and something in your arm and you're tied to a hospital bed, then what good is it?
It's exactly what I've come to find too. And in my practice, that like if you don't have your physical, sometimes people talk about three buckets, right? They'll say physical, health, wealth, relationships, right? It's kind of really simplistic. And if you don't have your physical, how can you pursue the others, especially as we age? But I want to focus on the spiritual just for a second, because I know some people aren't as quote unquote spiritual, and it could be a loaded term, right? Some people
Yes.
think religion, some people think you mentioned meditation and prayer, or just your morning practice. Elaborate on that a little bit so people understand, like, why is this number one? What makes it number one? And how is that personalized to someone?
If you don't have faith in anything but yourself, that is a lot of pressure. I was an atheist up until my freshman year in college, and I had literally a breakdown where I did a fake suicide attempt and took like a bottle of Tylenol because I just couldn't stand the pressure. And having faith in anything greater than yourself is going to give you a peaceful life. I don't care if it's nature, because we're not the ones, raising and setting the sun every day. We're not the ones pulling the ocean tides forward and back. Whatever it is, having faith in anything that's greater than yourself, that you can trust, that has your back, it's just amazing to have a partner to go through life with. And you could say, well, it's not scientifically proven, but quantum physics is proven that everything is connected and there's some kind of order to the chaos. So, yeah, having faith in something greater than yourself. I don't care if it's the law of gravity. You're not the
Yeah.
person keeping your feet on the earth, but just knowing there's something out there. And then I met this woman at an AA meeting. Her name was Janet, and she taught me how to write in a God journal. She gave me some life changing journal prompts. I started doing that every single day. I've added a few journal prompts of my own. I haven't missed a day for 30 years. And that journal is part of my morning practice because it helps turn my negative thinking to positive,
Mm.
and it helps me see like a bigger picture. Like one of the journal prompts is, how is God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself? That is opening up my mind that there is a benevolent force in a friendly universe. And that just that one journal prompt changed my whole way of thinking. And I'm actually going to give this journal as a gift to your listeners.
Yeah, no, I love that. People listening for me a long time know I've struggled with journaling myself over the years,
Yeah.
and I'm actually in the midst of using a journal again, associated with another friend of mine. He has a thing going on there. But what comes to mind with all of this spiritual thing, because I'm very open minded, is purpose, right? Like, is someone's purpose the same thing? Like, the fact that someone is trying to do something beyond themselves and that drives them. Would you say it's the same thing, or is that something else?
I think your purpose is different than a
Okay.
relationship with a higher power. Your purpose can be anything. And actually, I have a free guide on my website, RebeccaElizabethWhitman.com. And the guide is called Find Your Meaningful and Magnetic Purpose. But yeah,
Hmm.
purpose to me is what you're put on this earth to do, what
Okay.
lights you up, what your mission is. And spiritual, I mean, it could tie into your spirituality, but I feel like the 2 don't have to be connected. The
Hmm. Hmm.
spiritual can be its own separate relationship.
Okay, no, I love that. So let's focus on the second pillar, which I
Mm.
know we wanted to get in today, the physical, and your personal philosophy of fitness. I think we had a text conversation, and you mentioned the term HNM to refer to hydration, nutrition, movement, and meditation. So again, frameworks, I love it. You know, the acronyms, the letters, and all that. So the fact that you start with hydration is very interesting. But just tell us more about this overall philosophy, and we get into details.
Yeah, I believe in H&M, not the discount store, although I do love the discount store. Like you said, hydration, nutrition, movement, meditation. So, hydration is everything. I'm actually drinking my water right now, and it's got phytonutrients and electrolytes in it. I believe hydration is so critical for just everything. One of the things that I do as soon as I wake up is I drink lemon water, at least 16 ounces, and I have some electrolytes in that. I do participate in caffeine. I'm not going to
Hmm.
say I don't,
Hmm.
which makes hydration even more important.
Yeah.
So I believe that we should be drinking half our weight in ounces of water. I don't think the water has to be plain. I'm all about like putting extra supplements to jazz it up. But yeah, 90 ounces of water is so important, especially if you are taking a lot of supplements and especially if you're working out because the body
Hmm.
needs that water to process everything through. I didn't even drink a lot of water. Like growing up, it wasn't a thing. Now all these kids are walking everywhere with their water bottles and there's
Yeah.
water bottle stickers and everyone's like, be hydrated. But it does make a great difference to me and my health and just in my skin, how I feel. So that's the first
Yeah,
le
let's just focus on that for a second. The fact you put
yeah,
it
let's do it.
first is kind of innovative because most people don't, right? They'll put it at, they'll kind of put it as an afterthought. And I have clients all the time who say, you know, oh, I'm hungry this week. Or a client recently had said, you know, I started drinking more like you suggested and my energy is better. Is that a thing? And it's absolutely, like your body needs water for everything it does, every function you can imagine. And the electrolytes is also good because people do drink a lot of caffeine. And if
Mhm.
they can maybe complement that with a glass of water with some lemon and salt or electrolytes, it's going to make a huge difference. And then your skin, right? Especially for ladies, you know, I know everybody's skin is important, but you know, women tend to focus on that. So starting with hydration, very innovative. I just wanted to point that out. And now I'll let you continue with the nutrition.
Yeah, and I love putting electrolytes in my water because a lot of us are mineral deficient
Yeah.
because our farmlands are depleted of minerals. So even though they're doing the same crops year in and year out, there's less and less minerals that the crops are garnering from the soil. So yeah, I'm all about electrolytes in the water
Well,
and
let me ask about that. Which
yeah.
electrolytes do you find is magnesium high on the list? Would you say, like, which electrolytes do we find are most efficient, and how do you address those with the electrolytes? And also, do you get it from fruit, for example?
It's got all the electrolytes. Magnesium's one of them. Plus, it has shilajit. Do you know what that is?
I actually don't.
It's a new superfood.
Okay,
It's like a resin that they scrape off of caves in the Himalayas,
interesting.
and it gives you energy naturally. So
Okay.
it's got electrolytes and shilajit in it. I also use a brand called Trace Minerals. I put that in my lemon water, and they have just a general mineral formula, and then they have one with fulvic acid. Awesome.
Cool.
I do. I also put molecular hydrogen in my water sometimes too. If I'm at a restaurant, I have little molecular hydrogen pills that I'll drop in the water to just, again, jazz it up, make it more exciting. Electric molecular hydrogen is really good for just cellular function, energy, clarity. The next is nutrition. I am a believer in the Mediterranean diet, which is the blue zone diet. It's a low inflammation diet. It's a lot of vegetables, fish, eggs, and I don't eat meat. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat dairy. And I don't eat, I mean, there's sugar in everything naturally. I don't eat things with a
Right.
lot of sugar.
Though the
Uh,
Mediterranean diet does have lean meats in there for just for
yes.
completeness. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
For those who wanna eat lean meats, it is, in there, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So that diet has really worked for me. I didn't do well on the high fat, low carb diet. I actually blew up my gallbladder and needed emergency gallbladder removal
Mm.
because I was doing, like, too much fat.
Okay.
So, I don't think that works for everybody. So, I don't, like, avoid fat. I have avocados and Sometimes I'll have ghee, but I don't, like, put fat in my coffee every day or do that. It
Yeah, and we talk about nutrition all the time here. You've got to find something that works for you, and even though no one diet can be proclaimed perfect for any one person, the Mediterranean diet definitely leans toward kind of the whole food health matrix, the whole food matrix, getting all your
yes.
nutrients in there. So it's pretty solid. Yeah.
And I like what Dr. Gundry says, that food is just a delivery system for olive oil. So, I think that is a healthy fat that I can tolerate. So, the next M is for movement.
Mhm.
I changed my workout when I hit menopause. I was doing HIIT training that was like cardio, 2 minutes of weights and 2 minutes of sprinting on the treadmill. And I would walk back to my car just like in a puddle of sweat. It was a lot, and I did that for a long time, and then I hit menopause and I changed it up because I studied it, and it's like you're not supposed to work out that hard as you did, like, as a youngster, like so now I do HIIT training, but it's with a gym franchise that you probably know, Philip, called F45,
Mhm.
and they have, like, more resistance training. It is still HIIT, you still do stations with, a few seconds of rest in between sets, but it's I do more the weight resistance days, and then, I do that 3 days a week. I also walk my dog every single day. My goal is 5,000 steps. I don't hit it every day, but that's my intention to hit it. I do yoga once a week,
Mhm.
and then I play tennis a couple times a week for cardio. It's a game called live ball where there's a lot of running around a tennis court. So I really believe for fitness, it should be a combination of strength, flexibility, and cardio. And I feel like I'm hitting all those things.
Yeah, no, no, no. I agree. Well, people are listening and they always wonder like what's the best program for them or how should they do it. And like you said, it first of all, it can change with your life. Like when you said you hit menopause, the energy needs change and your capabilities change and all of this other stuff. But also, you got to enjoy it. I mean, you have to enjoy it. If you're
Yeah.
walking, walk out in nature with your dog. If you want to be flexible or have some mindfulness, yoga or stretching or whatever works for you, and then throwing in some fun activities in there like tennis is great. So it's a good reminder to folks to keep it well rounded and do what works for you.
I am a big believer of ClassPass. Before I joined F45, I called myself a gym slut because
Mhm.
I had ADD and I didn't wanna, like, just go to the same gym and do the same workout all the time. I used to do before I really studied and understood how important weight training was, I called it my supermodel workout, 45 minutes of cardio
Mhm.
on the step mill or the bike, and then 15 minutes of stretching and abs, and I was doing absolutely no strength,
Yeah.
and then I realized, wow, you can actually get leaner and hotter if you lift weights. It doesn't mean you're gonna, like, bulk up and be this bodybuilder if you lift weights, and that really changed my whole physique when I started lifting weights. And now I'm 52 and I'm in the best shape of my life because I have incorporated weight. So that's why another reason I love the title of your podcast, Wits and Weights, because weight training really changed my life.
I mean, Rebecca, we are all over that, and it's a message that has to get out there for men know it kind of, but
Yeah.
you're right, women it's like a different approach, and you just think about what it takes to get bulky. Like a man to get bulky, it's a lot of work. It would be, usually on drugs too, but not often. Women are not going to get bulky. Like if you have that lean, strong physique, that's where it comes from. And guess what? You get to eat more food. You don't have to be dieting. You could be more functional and capable for the other things and the list goes on and on. So I always love to hear that. It's a great message.
And I do have a cheat day. Friday is my cheat day. I call it Fun Food Friday.
Mhm.
And I can eat anything I want, but I feel like even though I can have a total cheat day, I still I'm still doing like my cheat will be like, a vegan gluten-free piece of cheesecake, but it'll
Yeah.
still be like within the parameters. But I could, it's nice to know that on one day I can eat anything I want. So that's the fitness strategy. And if I don't work out in the morning, it's not happening. So
Mhm.
I believe in doing it first thing in the morning. It builds my confidence. It gives me that cocktail of feel good hormones, serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and it's just a great way to start my day.
Yeah,
So that
let's hold on that because it's
yeah.
interesting. I used to be very agnostic about that. You'll find out I'm the kind of guy who like I want to please everyone, so I'll just kind of be agnostic on things. The morning versus the evening training, the evidence shows that ultimately whatever works for you, and that afternoon training was shown to be a slightly better for lifting. But it turns out that morning training has a tremendous amount of other benefits, like you mentioned, related to your cortisol, other hormones, the endorphins, also your mood, like so many things that probably far outweigh any other little benefit evening training has. Again, you have to do what works for you, right? But I do want the listener to know that if they haven't tried training in the morning and they're like, oh, I don't want to get up early and train, just do it. Just do it for like a week or two and see how it makes you feel.
It used to be really hard for me to get up early and
Yeah.
train.
Yeah.
I would work out at like a 9:30 or 10 o'clock class, and then I married a morning person, and we work out together. We lift weights 3 days a week. He liked to work out at 5:30. I like to work out at 9:30, so we met in the middle, and now I work out at like 7:30 or 8. And because of that, I can do intermittent fasting and have a fasted workout, and that's
Mhm.
also very controversial. I know some people say you should have protein first thing in the morning before your workout, but I feel like I do a pre-workout drink, and that gives me a lot of energy, and then I go to the gym and lift weights, and then I have breakfast afterwards. That's when I have my protein, and it's been really working for me. I really like having a fasted workout.
Cool. Yeah, it depends on what works for you. So if it works for you, because
Yeah.
I've had clients who I'll have them try training fed, and they're like, this just doesn't work as well. I think I'll say like 8 out of 10 people seem to do better when they start eating, but then others will find the other. So it really depends. I don't
Yeah,
what works for you. Yeah,
it really depends, and if I work out later in the morning, I do need to eat because I get hungry during the workout, and
for
that's
sure.
that's not a good feeling. So that's the, H, hydration, and nutrition, M is movement, the other M is meditation,
Mm,
and that is mindfulness, so you can get that doing a yoga class. I really like a guided meditation app called Insight Timer. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have listened to it. There's millions of people on there. And on Insight Timer app, depending on how much time I have, if I have anywhere from 1 minute to 45 minutes, I can find a meditation that works within that parameter and just set up the meditation with my AirPods and just listen and just relax. And I really enjoy guided meditation because you can have some with affirmations for abundance or
mm.
confidence or whatever it is that you're working on. You can find that guided meditation, and it's kind of like reprogramming your mind on a subconscious level. And I got to be honest, a lot of times I just fall asleep,
Yeah.
but that's okay too because I know that it's working on a subconscious level.
Yeah, I was joking with people about active mind syndrome, right? A lot of us just we cannot shut the mind off. Even when we try to meditate, it's like we get distracted. Like, do you have thoughts on that? I know I've always heard the advice is just keep doing it. You'll get used to it, and it's okay even if you do have thoughts. Like it's all okay. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think of our thoughts as watching cars drive down a highway. And if you can learn to like say, oh, I'm thinking about, what I'm going to have for dinner. I'm thinking about what that person said to me at work or whatever, like, and just name it, then you can detach from it. But the whole point for me of meditation is detaching from my thoughts and realizing I am not my thoughts. I have a
Mm,
soul that is connected to the divine, and it's tapping into that again, that relationship, which is the first pillar of spirituality, and not getting caught up in my thoughts because I used to think I am my thoughts, I am my emotions, but I am more than that. And so are you.
love it. I love it. So like cars driving by, I've heard the leaves floating on the river, right? Kind of just going by, and you look at them and you detach from them is what you're saying. So that's beautiful. You mentioned your morning training, both the spirituality and the journaling. You mentioned fitness. Was there anything else in the morning routine that you wanted to share? A lot.
I I do ta it's a lot. I do
Okay.
take my supplements in the morning.
Hmm.
I take a liquid collagen, which again is in my link tree. I'm totally obsessed with it. It's liquid collagen and hyaluronic acid, and it has completely changed my muscles, my joints, my strength. It's really changed everything. That product I take first thing in the morning.
Just
I
let me quick question about that one. Does it happen to have curcumin or anything like that as well, or do you know?
I don't think the version I take
Hmm.
does.
Just curious.
And then I drink my lemon water, and then after that, I will have coffee or tea. I go back and forth, and while I'm having my coffee or tea, I will do my morning practice, which is writing in my abundance journal, reading from a couple spiritual books, and doing a little bit of prayer meditation, and then I'm off to the gym.
Now, what about people who say, "Oh, I can't find the time, and I can't devote every morning to this whole ritual," because I'm sure you
Yeah.
hear that all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't take that much time. I
Okay.
mean, taking my supplements, a lot of people say, "I don't have time to take supplements," but really, it takes like 2 minutes once you get it as part of your routine. Making the lemon water takes another couple minutes. I don't do the lemon like pre-made, I actually squeeze the lemon. I don't think it takes more than 20 minutes to do everything. The supplements, making my coffee or tea, sitting down, writing. I mean, I've got it down to 20 minutes at the
Okay.
most. So I don't have like a 2 or 3 hour elaborate morning routine because I'm too type A, I'm too busy. I want to get on to the next thing, and I also really love sleep. That's another thing, that is really important to my, fitness that isn't an H&M. Maybe I should call it H&MS
Mm,
'cause, sleep, oh my god, like, when I have 7 or 8 hours of sleep, I can function at such a higher level. If I dip to even 6 hours of sleep, and I know everybody's different, I just don't feel as good.
yeah. That is massive, and it's true everybody's different, and some people make excuses for being different, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll say, "Well, I'm the kind that can get by on 5.5 hours of sleep," and I kinda call call BS on that usually, like, "Well, try getting 2 more hours of sleep and tell me that it doesn't make a difference." It's funny because I was getting consistently 6.5 hours, and I knew it wasn't enough, and I have an Aura ring too that kinda helps, but,
Oh, neat.
then after I had surgery for my rotator cuff in the summer, and I started sleeping more just because I couldn't train as much, and I shifted an extra half hour. That's all it was. And to this day, I kept that extra half hour, and that made all the difference. Like, you go from like 45 minutes of deep sleep to like an hour and a half of deep sleep just from that little extra change. And the other thing is, I'm a big fan of like sleep hacks. I don't know if you have things like a sleep mask or blue blocker glasses or like blackout curtains. Do you have any kind of hacks that you like to use for sleep quality?
The only hack, and this is a really tough one for people, is not to bring my cell phone to the bed.
Mm,
That is a
it's a good one.
boundary that I set with myself. It's a hard one because 'cause I'm addicted to my phone like everybody else is, but
Mm,
I'm just like, I'm just not going to bring my cell phone into the bed because I don't wanna look at the blue light right before I go to bed, and I turn my cell phone to airplane mode
mhm.
because there's, like,
Notifications.
scientific. Huh?
Yeah, all the notifications. Oh, you mean the EMG
There's,
and
like,
or
some
EM.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
some
okay.
frequency that's not good for you on a cellular level
Yeah.
when the internet and everything and all the Wi-Fi is going through your phone. I also keep my phone in another room. I don't keep it right next to my bed. So, those are some of my sleep hacks.
There's something to that with the electromagnetic waves, right? Because we got a new microwave like a year ago that leaks compared to our last microwave, and you could tell because it starts to interfere with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi when a device is near it, and you're like, "I don't know if
Wow.
this is good," you know? "I don't know if this is good." But they're all in the similar frequencies, so that kinda tells you something. We think microwave radiation is super dangerous, right? If you get exposed to it.
Right.
So that's funny. Another thing related to fitness that you shared in the text we were talking about, I think, was the hiatus you took from tennis. And I knew you wanted to talk a little bit about that. You took a 25-year hiatus playing
I
for
did.
Princeton. Yeah. Okay. Tell us about that. Yeah.
I was really burned out on tennis because, again, I did not have a spiritual awakening until I was 20 years old. I thought that if I won at tennis, I was a worthwhile human being. And if I lost at tennis, I was not a worthwhile human being.
Mm,
And hitting a second serve and a third set tiebreaker was like in my body the same as like, jumping out of the way of a freight train. Like it was
mm,
just really putting my adrenals into overload and it just wasn't fun anymore. And it was a really tough decision, but I got into Princeton to play on their tennis team and then I quit after my sophomore year. And I went to Italy and I realized they had a whole different philosophy of life. It was like a 2-hour lunch and everybody was in a good mood and they're living like to enjoy life, not just to get results and to win. And to get accomplishments, and I was like, I don't want to play tennis anymore. So
Mm.
I came back from that junior year abroad. I quit the tennis team, and then I didn't pick up a racket for 25 years. I was just into working out, taking classes. I was like, I don't want to do competition. I'm over it. And then a friend of mine asked me to hit with him, a high school friend that happened to be living in LA. And I
Mhm.
did, and I had fun. And then I found out about this fun game of women playing in the park. And I had to remind myself, like, okay, this is like a bunch of middle-aged women playing in a park. I do not need to like get stressed out like this is the finals of Wimbledon or
Competition,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, so I had to like really work on calming my sense of competition down so I can enjoy it, and I made friends with everyone, and I've been playing ever since and getting better ever since. So I play like once or twice a week, and it's been a lot of fun to have a fitness activity that I'm really good at, and I also feel connected to my younger self,
Mm.
a teenage version of myself that I've kinda, like, left behind. I've reconnected with that part of myself, and it's been really healing.
I love that story of rediscovery, because you don't, just because something, you had a bad experience connected with something, doesn't mean that that thing was the cause of it per se, right? It was other factors of how you approached that back in your younger days. I had another guest on recently, was a runner, similar experience. He was like burned out from running marathons. He was in the Boston Marathon, all that when he was younger. Took a break, came back to it older and wiser, and was like, just gonna like take it easy, have fun with it, like really enjoy it. So people can learn a lot from that. And I guess anyone listening who feels stressed out by something that they're doing, it doesn't have to be that way, right? Is what you're saying. It doesn't have to
Fitness
be
can
that
be
way.
fun, like, that's the
Absolutely.
whole point of fitness, like, who wants to do it if it's not gonna be fun?
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny with lifting weights, a lot of people will say, "Well, yeah, I don't really like lifting weights." And when you look at the mode that they lift with, you find that it may not be for them. Like the way that they lift. Let's say they're doing 10 movements and they're doing a circuit style, and they're just sweating and they hate it, And then you're like, "Well, why don't we just lift really heavy, but you only have to do these three things and with all this rest period?" Like, "Well, that sounds hard too." And then they do it and they're like, "Wait a minute, this is fun," because it's not associated with the negative things about lifting that I had before. Anyway, I'm rambling here, but with the pillars, we talked about quite a bit about physical. Which of the others would you say contributes the most, or you like to talk about relative to physical fitness? So once you have the physical stuff kind of dialed in, does it then really enhance one of the others more, or does one of the others, if you work on it, really enhance your physical fitness?
I think the fitness really enhances the emotions.
Mm.
Because when you are feeling fit and strong, you are just happier, you're confident, you and that affects romance because you are going to be more attractive to the opposite sex when you're feeling fit and strong and comfortable in your body. So I would say those 2, and also, I mean, they're all connected to fitness because also money.
Mm.
When you feel like you've done a really hard workout and you lifted heavy weights and you've really challenged your body, you're like, "Wow, that's the hardest thing I have to do today." Like having that Zoom or having that meeting is gonna be easier
Mm.
than lifting that heavy weight. So I feel like it really fitness affects all the areas, and that's why it's, the second pillar
Yep.
because it affects all the areas. And I believe that you should schedule your workout on Sunday night, schedule your workouts and prioritize and make your week work around your fitness and body before business. And if you don't
Mm.
have the money to go to a fancy gym or hire a celebrity trainer like Philip, you can just walk. There's so many videos on YouTube, like during the pandemic, Amazon sold out of weights because everybody was just doing
Yeah.
weight training at home and on YouTube.
It's
There's
true.
so many ways to work out if you really, really want to do it. So, whether you have the financial means or not, if you really want to do it, I mean, you could just do walking and push ups and sit ups, like anything you can do to move your body is it's just so worth it. And another thing, a huge hack that I'm going to share with your audience that changed my life is having affirmations with your weight training. So, if you're doing weight training and you're bored, you can combine having affirmations with your weight training. Like, I am enough. I have enough. I am willing to set myself free. And that is called an incantation. And that is something I learned from Tony Robbins. That really reprograms your mind on a deeper level when you combine affirmations with physical movement.
Oof, there's so much there I love. So first of all, you have a couple what my friend Carl would call notable quotables that I'm going to mention here. One was make your week work around your fitness. I love that. I love that so much because the biggest excuse is consistency and time. Like, I don't have time for it. I'm like, if this is the most important thing for you, you're gonna have time for it. And other things are much less important and shouldn't even exist. Not shouldn't exist, but they won't exist without your fitness. The other thing you said is body before business. That's a good one. I'm sure you've said that before because it came right off
Yeah.
your rolled right off your tongue. Body before business, not having financial excuses. Like, big box gyms are pretty dirt cheap. Like, I mean, maybe this is going to sound inappropriate, but I've heard how homeless people will get a membership at a big box gym to take get their showers because it's the cheapest way to go. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
you can
ten
get
bucks a
one for
month
like,
kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
10 or 20 bucks a month.
yeah, yeah. So that shouldn't be an excuse. And then the affirmations or their weight training. That's an interesting one. My friend and former client Alan and I always talk about how lifting is a form of mindfulness, especially if you turn off the music. Right. If you're doing it, like, especially if you're at a home gym and it's very quiet, just getting under a heavy squat can be a form of you can't think of anything else. The thoughts go away and you're just focused on the activity and you're breathing and you're bracing. So folks listening, like, this is kind of a form of habit stacking, right? Doing multiple things at once and getting the most out of it. I love it. I just wanted to comment on all that, Rebecca.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned resilience, like when you work out hard, you feel confident. I think that's a really important message too. So when we talk about developing resilience, because that's another topic you talk about, is that one of the important ways to do it, or how does it align with the different ways we develop resilience against obstacles?
Well, weight training is resilience training. You
Mm,
have to break down the muscle before it can get stronger. So I think of certain people in my life that have caused me a lot of financial or emotional pain as trainers, right?
mhm,
They broke me down financially, and I had to figure out how to build my financial reserve back up, or they broke me down emotionally. They hurt me, and they were like an emotional trainer for me. So it's a way to think of pain differently. I think in the gym, we understand our relationship with pain. We know that no pain, no gain. If it doesn't challenge me, it doesn't change me. And we understand that there is some pain in getting in shape. But when it comes to life, we don't want to feel any pain.
mm,
We will shop, we will gamble, we will have sex, we will, do anything, drink, use drugs not to feel pain, but it's the same thing in life. Pain is not to be feared because pain will teach you something and challenge you, and it will sculpt your soul the way the weight sculpts your body. So yeah, don't be scared of pain, and if you meditate, you know that you are not your emotions. So it's okay to feel the painful emotions and then let them just pass through you.
bringing us back to spiritual, right? Like, I love it.
Right.
It all ties together. All right, so I know we're almost out on time here, but is there a question that you wish I had asked? And if so, what is your answer?
Oh my god, you're so funny. I don't know you. This has been a very, thorough interview. I think you covered everything. I would just like to tell your listeners how lucky you are to be able to work out. Like, you
Mm,
get to listen to a fitness podcast like Philip's. You get to learn about working out and diet and fitness because there's so many people in the world that physically cannot work out.
mm,
They just don't have the strength or the wellness to be able to even work out. So the fact that we're even in this conversation is so, like, fortunate, and we're so
mm.
blessed. So I think if you think of your workout as a blessing and something you get to do rather than you have to do, it will change everything in your fitness. Like, it is such a privilege to be able to move your body and work out that so many people would just only dream about.
I love it. Your workout's a blessing. It's a privilege, something you get to do. Well,
Yes. Mhm.
this has been beautiful. We did cover a lot, and I love where the conversation went. So I appreciate your time here. Where can listeners learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so I would love to give you guys that abundance journal that has absolutely changed my life, and that will be in my Linktree link. I also have a lot of fun events coming up. I have Elegant Warrior training starting mid January, right about when this podcast is coming out. We're starting a class where every week for 7 weeks, we're going to do a deep dive into the 7 pillars and give you tips, tools, and strategies to get that area of your life to a level 10. We are going to help you overcome limiting beliefs and just slay all your goals for the new year. So I highly recommend you message me or set up a breakthrough call. That's another thing in my link tree. You can set up a breakthrough call. I only open 3 spots a week in my schedule, and I give you free coaching for 30 minutes on how to get unstuck. And yeah, I would love to keep in touch with you through my website, RebeccaElizabethWhitman.com, or my Instagram, Clubhouse, Twitter, Threads. It's all Rebecca E. Whitman. And all of that will be shared in the show notes. So I look forward to staying in touch with all of you guys.
You got it. They'll be in the show notes, the Abundance Journal, the events, the website, the IG, all of it. And again, thank you so much for your time. Super valuable. The listeners, I'm sure, learned a ton from today. So thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Philip.